All right, welcome back, guys. In the last part, we looked at completing our endpoint on the tax model, and we shall have to serialize it. In this part, we'll be looking at the authentication, would consider how to register a new user, and we'll see how to write, the code for that as well with the serializers also. So how to register and log in a new user. Then we'd also talk about JWT tokens. These are simple JSON web tokens, which are useful in protecting the data resources. Right. So without further ado, we'll proceed. Would need to install something from the REST framework, and it's called the Django REST framework simple JWT. So I'm going to just do that now. I'm going to stop my development server and I'll just install this. So as you can see, pip install Django REST framework hyphen simple JWT. And I'll press enter to install this. All right, so now that it's installed already, then I'll need to update the settings. I'll need to update the settings so that the REST framework can know that there's this JWT authentication and it should use it. So I'll come to my settings here. Let me just remove this. Put this here. Come to my settings here, and where is it again? Yeah, settings. And I'll just come here after the installed apps. I'll just come here and paste this here, so you can see REST framework is equals to this a dictionary, as you can see here, and we have this is the key default authentication classes. Excuse me, please. This is the default authentication class, this is the key, and the value is a tuple. So you can see REST framework simple JWT.authentication.jwt authentication. So just have this in your settings. It can be in any place on the settings, but I just choose to put it underneath the installed apps. So having done that, we've registered the JWT class, which is going to be useful for authentication. Now, we can now move to the serializers. Now, don't forget, we already have the user model imported. So we don't need to import it from the models because it's imported from the contrib.auth.models, which is built in. Right, so I'll just come here and I'll call this, I'll say user serializer, right? So we can have a class. I'll just call this register serializer. Then just like we have to have serializers dot model serializer, as you can see. Then we're going to have a field for password, which we will make this serializers dot char field. Then we're going to make this write only. So you can see, unlike the others that we're making read only, this is going to be write only because it's a password field. So you're going to write to it. You're going to want to edit the password field. So we're going to have our class meta as usual. The model will be user, right? Then we're going to have the fields. So by default, these fields come, with the built-in Django, the username, the email, then the password. Yeah, so these are the fields we're going to have. Then we're going to have another method. We're going to call this create. This is going to be to create a new user. So the default self, we're going to have a parameter here called validated data. Then we are going to create a variable object here. I'm going to say user dot object dot create dot object dot create user. This will create user. Then the validated data. Yeah. Then we are going to return the user. So by doing this, this would help us hash the password because whatever the person types in here, it's going to be the normal characters. But we don't want to save those characters in the database for security reasons, right? Just in case someone else who is not unauthorized, who is not authorized has access to the database, so they won't be seeing your password. So by calling the create method, yeah, and this is just a variable name. It can be another thing. This parameter is just a variable name, right? By doing this, and we're using the create user object, right? It will hash the password for us, right? So this would create a user, and it will have a username, email, and password as well, right? Now, having done this, we can now get this register serializers. We can take it to the views because we need to create the logic for it as well. So just come here, import register serializers. I'll just come here and say, see, register user, right? So a register user, basically. So we can have our class, and we can say register view. Now, this would just be using the generics dot create API view. You can see on like the first one whereby we used the noise of the list create. This is just we're using just the create API view. So I said before you can have it individually, the create, the list, the update, but if you want to make it faster, just use list create. But in this case, we just want to register a new user, so we're going to use the create API view. So what we're going to have is the serializer class, right? And this would be the register serializer that we imported up there. Then for the permission classes, now this would not be the usual is authenticated. This would be allow any. Now, why is this allow any? This is because a user wants to register, wants to newly create himself or herself. So there's no need to say we are, doing any authentication because as at this point in time, this endpoint you want to register to allow any. So I would come here and import it here in the permissions, allow any. That's REST framework to permissions. We have imported is authenticated, then allow any as well. So this should do this. You can see we just have the register view, which is our class name. We're using just the create API view. And the permission classes allow any. Serializer class is the register serializers. That is this that we've created, right? So this will serve as our form or API basically. Don't forget I mentioned the popular format is JSON, though there are other API formats. So having done this now, we would have to register this in the URL, starts in the route. So let's go to our route. I'll come here, say register view. Then we'll create the path. So I can bring this down here because it's too long. Then I just had to put the backslash to make it not look like a new variable. It's still the same thing we're importing from. That's the reason for the backslash. Otherwise, you should take it as just a variable name. right? So in this case now, the backslash is continuation. So it's just a continuation from the previous line, which is line 2. Before we do that, there's something else we need to import from REST framework. Simple JWT that we imported. Dot views. We're going to import two things. We're going to import token obtain peer view. Then we're also going to import token refresh. Token refresh view. Yes. So this would help us with our tokens. The tokens are important, when you're creating these authentications. This is what will be passed across when the front end app or service is trying to consume this particular endpoint, this authentication endpoint. Because if the token is not provided, it won't really work, right? So it's always good practice when you're communicating with a front-end service in this regards for your authentication, you add tokens. So now we are going to have our parts now. I'll just put this part here. Let me just get them. Okay, so we have this route. We have three routes for the authentication. And you can see here, this is /auth register /auth login /auth token /refresh. Now, this is the register view that we imported up here. This is it line 3. Then, of course, this is just for the front end, but you don't need this now. Register view as view. Take notes, look at the syntax. The login, token obtain peer view. So if you look at this class, and I see the title there, it said the token obtained peer view, it takes a set of user credentials, in this case, the username, the password, right? And returns an access and refresh JSON Web Token. That's the JWT, JSON Web Token. Pair to prove authentication of those credentials. That's what it does. So it takes the username and password and it sends that, it encrypts it and generates this access and refresh JWT tokens, which is now sent to the front end, basically. So it's like a ticket, to enter, to have access to something, right? A ticket of access to something. So that's what it does. So we're going to have two tokens. One is the access token, and the other one is a refresh token. The access token is what allows you to communicate, when you type in your username and your password, right? The access token will say, oh, this is the right token. This token belongs to this user, right? So different users, upon signing up and logging in, will have different tokens. Now, these tokens expires. And that's why sometimes you see that you can log in and you can save your login details, right? Those ones are used by the refresh token. Refresh token enables you, so you don't have to re-enter your password again, your credentials. It will just refresh itself. But that token is what gives you like direct entry, right? But it expires sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, depending on what is being set. So that is what this does. When you log in, you get your token, and token allows you to have access to the system. In this case, this one is for the refresh token. You can, come to this route to refresh the token. So, having done that now, we can go to our postman. I think we now need to look at the postman. We've not done that. We've been using the browser for a while. But here we now need to look at the postman. So going to share the postman now. Okay, so look at the postman. I'll just create a new request. So let me see. This would be auth register based on our route, the route we created. So this is, we cannot send a GET request for this. If we do that, you see what we have. It should be a post request basically. So could not send request, right? So we have to change the verb here to post. You can see you can make a GET request, a post request, a put, patch, delete, and others. We'll look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These other ones you don't need them. So the post request is what we're looking at here, and you can now create a new user. Okay, so I'm going to just go to the body. Let me see from data. So now you can put the username, that's the key, the value. You can call this, let's say, user1, right? Then email. Um, you can call this, let's say, see, user1, user1 at email.com. Then you can also have another key password. Remember, those are the three things we set. You can just say, let's say, secure password. Now you can see this because I'm typing it via a form. So this is like I'm filling the form, right, from the front end. You're filling the form from the front end. Now it's important that your development server is running. So I'm just going to run the server. So if it's not running, then it won't even work, not really work, right? It won't work. So you have to start your server. So once you've done that now, because if you don't start the server, this address won't go because this is the development address server, right? So you have to start your server. Okay, I haven't done that now. Um, let's run this so you can see the post request we're making. And let me see. All right, so you can see it now. I think it has run successfully. And we would know that by the response status code. You can see 201, right? You can see created. The request has been fulfilled and resulted in a new resource being created. That new resource basically means a new data has been created, right? In the database. So if you get a 201 status code, it means it has been successful. Now you can see that we are not getting the password, we're just getting the username and the email. And that is good for security reasons. Now I'll just come here. Let me come to this part and let me go to the login. I'll change this to a post request. If I should try to log in now on the machine, well, let me just create a new one. Let me come to, let me make this login. So I'll be making a post request. You can log in. So I'll just come here, come to the body, come to none, form data. So it's like I'm filling the login form that I've registered as a user, right? So the username, the value is user1, then the password, the value is your password, which I used before, right? So I'm going to make this request and you can see it now. We have the refresh token and the access token. So this token is unique to this user, right? It's not always the same. Take note. So it's not as if you log in, you have the same token or stuff like that. It can change sometimes, but it's unique to this user. So anytime I log in, this is what I would get. So this token is what will be used to now authenticate. So I'll just copy the access token I'll copy the access token, right? Now, if I should come here and let's say I want to have access to a resource, let's say tax 2, I'm making a GET request, right? And I run this, you see authentication credentials were not provided. Do you see this now? Right? Even though I have logged in, you can see it. It says authentication credentials were not provided. Why is this? That's because that access token was not given. So what can I do? I can come to this auth, then change the type to bearer token. Then I can paste that token I copied, that access token. I'll paste it here. So I haven't done this now. I can now run this and send. Now you can see I have a different kind of error, right? It says 404, no tax matches the given query. Why is this? This is because I am logged in as a new user, in this case, user one, but this tax does not belong to me. Don't forget, when we created the tax view and the API, we said that it can only return the tax that belongs to the owner. So if I'm not the owner, I can't have access to that tax or project. And that's why we're having this error. But of course, you can see now we are getting different error, which is different from the last one that said the authentication, no authentication was provided. I hope you get this now. So you can create new users using the route to log in to register. And then when you want to log in, you have to log in with your normal credentials. You get the access token and the refresh token. The access token is what you now use to get other things. So let's do this real quick. Let's make a post request on, let's make a post request. Let this user create its own, let me see, his own project. Let's see. So I'm signed in as the project, right? I'm signed as a user here. So the authentication is still this. So what I want to now, I want to create a project for this user here, right? Body. We can put it here. You can also write them using the body here, like in this place. You can come here and edit, but let's just use this. So key for the models, the project models, I think we have the name. Let me just check. We have the name, description, owner and created at. So we just put name and description. Yeah. So the key here, we say name. So I can say user one. That is the user, right? Project. I'm doing this so that you will know this is created by user one. Then description. We can say user one. Let me see. Real estate project, right? So this project is about a real estate company, right? The created art, we don't need that because it's definitely going to be added automatically. So I'm going to make a post request. Please ensure it's a post request and not a get request you are making, so that because you get request will not work for this. So if I click on send, let me see. Now you can see what we have. You can see that it has been successfully created, a project, right? And the project ID is 3. That means there are now 3 projects in the system database. Now, this is the project name, just like we had it. This is the description. Now, you can see owner, user 1. It is not showing us admin, right? Don't forget, I am still signed in to the admin and the browser. But in this place now, the postman, I'm signed in as user 1. And that's because I've logged in, putting my access token. So I can now create a project, right? Now I can also create a tax. So you get the idea there now. So if I come here, I want to create a tax, I can say, let me see, for the for the again, project, this is project 3, right? So if I do project 3, then tax. I should run this, nothing comes out because having an error, basically. See it's an error. You call this URL via post, but the error doesn't end in a slash. So this is saying you have to end a slash. If you get kind of error, Django that can't redirect the slash URL while maintaining post data. So let's see this, but this will not still, we're not going to get what we want, right? So you can see we have an error. Let me see this here. Giving token not valid for any token type. Code token not valid. What's this telling us? The token has expired, basically, right? The token has expired. So what do? We can just come here and run this again. That's a post request. So if you see that, you see that this is now, it has given us a new access token. The other one has expired. So in this case, I'm going to change the bearer token. Don't forget, this is an auth, right? You go to type, you see bearer token here. I'm going to change this now and replace it with the new token. So I go back to body, name description. So this is tags. Now, don't forget the fields for the tags are different from the fields for the project. But so if I run this, we are not supposed to get a success message, right? So you can see title is required, project is required. That's because we have these fields for the tags model, the title, description, So I'm just going to change this to title, Title. I can call this, what's it called now? I can say build UI UX. Let me say build wireframes for real estate. Ah, description, this description for this tax now. So I can say ensure all wireframes are, now this is not really the right description, but then again, you can always put the right description for yourself. Are done and submitted. This is more of an instruction. Okay, we also have the status. Now, if we don't put the value for status, it will take the pending by default, right? Now, due date, we need to put the due date. So we can say due date. Please ensure that the field names matches what you're putting in the key. So due date, we can say, let's see, 23, 02, 2026, right? Then also the project, we can say project 3. I don't know if I can ask for 3. Then assign to, we can just assign to, let me just see, assigned to, we can make this 1. So user 1 basically is the super admin, which I created, the first user that is there. They're just 2 users. So this is the user ID 1, then project ID 3. Right? So if I should run this, let's see what we have now. Okay, the date has a wrong format. So it should be year, month, and date, not the other way around. So I'll just copy this and change it to year, month, and date. So let's run this and see. So you can see we have a success 201. That's the status code for success. This request has been fulfilled and resulted in a new resource being created. So assigned to none, okay, it's giving me null. That's interesting. Do I put 1, the value for the ID, the user ID? But it's giving me 1. If you're filling a form, you probably, you'll be able to get that well because you get the options to fill the form. But you get the idea there. Now we have another tax. The ID is 4. That means there are 4 tax in total. This is the title, the description. So you can see the status by default is pending, right? Even though we didn't pass it there, by default, it has taken the pending value, then the created at is there as well, right? Then the project 3. So if I should come here now and say I want to make a GET request, right, to know, let me see, just like I did in the last time. Where's that place again? I'll make a GET request to check this. I don't need to put all this. I just want to GET request. I think I'm going to see it now. As you can see it now, I can access this. That's because I am the one that created this task. So I can see the task I've created. right? But if it's another user, the other user comes here and try to access this endpoint, that user won't see this because it's not the user that created this tax. Okay, so I hope you understand this now, and I hope you're able to get the authentication part, the JWT JSON Web Token, which is useful to ensure that authentication is done appropriately. And you can always test everything on Postman, to see how it is. I would encourage you to, try to create more projects, try to create more users, create like 2, 3 more users, and let them sign in, get the access token, and use the access token to create more projects and more tasks under the project, right? So let me know when you do this and if you have any questions. And that'll be all for this session. Thank you very much.